Hello there. Does your family have any Yuletide traditions? Mrs. Claus and I always enjoy a big feast with our elves on Christmas Eve. Then afterwards, we try to guess what's inside our presents under the tree. But no peeking, or you just might get moved to the naughty list. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, Christmas tree, of all the trees most lovely. Oh, Christmas tree, of all the trees most lovely. Each year you bring to us delight, with brightly shining Christmas light. Oh, Christmas tree, of all the trees most lovely.
Mike Comtech coming to you here with a, well, I could say Christmas video. I guess people start out that early. I'll probably wait and post it a little bit later on, but I don't know. I'll probably post it immediately. Anyway, I took the Singing Santa jig and dressed it up a little. Made it look like a little more festive instead of just bare wood. But anyway, I fixed the intermittent connection in that control box. There was a speaker was cutting in and out and it was popping around, and I found the JST connector on the circuit board was not quite right, and so then I just replaced the JST connector, and then now the sound is perfect. Now it works great. Been kind of messing with the signal outputs on the Singing Santa control box here. There was two motors. One controlled the torso and another one controlled the let's see, the head moving back and forth. And this particular control box, there are sensors or leaf switches, or probably a micro switch in those motors that tell the controller where it is, so it can start up and then, or it can initialize. Here's what's kind of like what the motor's like right here. You've seen it before in the other videos, but there's gearbox and then the motor, and then there's a couple outputs for, or one output for the switch. Actually there is two, because the 4-pin connector here is what runs the motors that have a leaf switch or a sensor inside to tell the controller where it is. So your red and black supply the 5.9 volts, and also, like the torso motor would get a reverse command, so it actually would reverse the polarity, so it would roll the torso back the other way. And then the sensor would say, okay, I'm at home position, now you can start the routine all over again. It keeps it from overextending the motor that way, going past the limit. So I was measured the voltage. That's how I knew these two. I figured these two had voltage on them, and then these two were the sensor wires. So I have the green and the yellow on the Singing Santa box shorted out, shorted with an alligator. And I did the same thing with the arm motor too. See, the arm motor is a 4-pin. Same thing applies. Negative, positive, and the two green and yellow are the sense lines, so I shorted those two. And since this is on the same power supply, just shorten those two, makes the box turn on. Otherwise the box won't do anything. So if you hook one of these up to power and you throw the switch to continuous run, or if you put the switch on like a switch pad, like the try me input, or you had a switch you can just close and it will turn on the unit, also fire up the prop. It won't do anything until the controller is satisfied that those two motors are at home position. So some of the control boxes from SVI props will turn on without that assistance, but there's a few that will not. So then I found that out because I have the motor for this, the two motors, and I plugged everything in and it worked. And then when I unplugged the motors and tried the box again, then hey, wait a minute, it's not turning on. So it has to be something with the motor. So then I did a little probing around with the trusty old digital volt meter and found out what was going on. And then I did a continuity check. I fed the motor about 5 volts or so and then ran it continuously, and then I was looking at the sensor outputs and then put the digital voltmeter in continuity. And then every so often I would hear a beep, you know, right when that switch was being made, when that motor was coming around. So that verified that for me. So that's kind of some of the signaling I wanted to find out what's going on with these. And then later on we're going to get into how to take one prop and we can fire up another one either at the same time or on like a time delay situation where one prop would run its routine, the other one would turn on, run its routine, and maybe a third one, like the skeleton Santa here, this happy guy, he could turn on at the very last, and then the sequence just starts all over again. But anyway, I went to, back to the decorating a little bit, I went to our local Dollar General and found some little stockings for $1 a piece, and they had, they were stuffed, so I figured they had polyfill in there. So I cut the top off, pulled all the poly out and used it on the base here and just used some rubber cement to tack it down. That way rubber cement is good because you can remove that with some isopropyl alcohol to soften it, and it just rolls off. It's nothing permanent. You can take that rubber cement off if you get finished using it for something and want to make something else out of this or change it. And then they were decorated with these little pieces here, so I just kind of stuffed them in there a little bit. It kind of makes it a lot better to look at than say a wooden pole. And you know, Christmas is a special time, and so Santa thinks so. And then found this little guy at Walmart, and I put a couple of switches on it. It's a roller coaster, and it turns around and plays music. So I put a couple of switches underneath here. So this one here turns the roller coaster back on, so you can have it running just like that with no music, because you know, after a while the music, the repetitive tune is over and over and over, and especially what kind they are. And then if I hit that little switch underneath here for the music here, so that's what it sounds like. So anyway, you can turn all that off. So if you didn't want the music, or if you want the no animation and music that way, you can do it that way. Or just simply, let's get the roller coaster down here. Or you can just simply have a little light show. It's kind of neat. It's got a wig-wag situation on the LED flasher. It flashes each one at the end twice. Santa's standing there waiting for you to get aboard and get on the roller coaster, and it's a pretty cool little thing. It was like $9, I think, or something like that. And they didn't have very many of them left. And I bet they're all gone now. So this stuff, it just amazes me. If you don't get there early, even when the seasons start on this stuff, and if you want something, if you went back later, closer to Christmas, it's going to be gone if it's a good seller. So anyway, for sure. And then also I devised another little mock-up here. This is the singing Santa control box, and of course I was talking about how to bypass the motor's input leaf switches, so this would run on its own. And then since I already have the this is actually the upper torso motor, and just from about here to where it joins on right here to this little stand right here to here. This is actually the torso motor, the section from the Singing Santa. Now I don't have the Singing Santa, but I have, you can order parts, of course, through SVI, and so I got that. And the reason why I want to do that, because I have a way for 2 control boxes, or actually more if you want to hook more in. I'm going to create a Frankenstein, like a bust, a small bust. So he'll be just, instead of being 7 feet tall, I've got bits and pieces from Frankenstein. So he's right here. And then I made a test jig, of course, so I can have a place to put the head and mount the head and do all the testing. And then here's Frankenstein's control box. So then what I did is I take the signal coming from the infrared and I join those two together. So when this box fires up on the IR sensor here, so then it sends a high signal to that center pin on the IR sensor input right here. And then that sends the same signal to the center pin on the Singing Santa. And the reason why I'm using a Singing Santa controller, because it is programmed to control this torso motor. So now Frankenstein, I'll show you here with my little puppet snowman that I took off from. He was a part that since I dismantled that one for parts, then I needed to. I just went ahead and took snowman off the motor part of it. So then now he's like a little stuffed puppet, but he's hollow in the center. So I just put him down on that. There's a shaft right here that will accept another piece to the big prop, so it will turn back and forth. So anyway, if I activate Santa, if you watch the snowman, this will be the action. He'll go to left, he'll come back center, and then it goes to the far right. So it'll do those three movements like that. So that's what I'll have. Actually, I'll have Frankenstein do that as well. So the Frankenstein top that I want to do is going to have the arm movement and it'll have the head movement. And then I'll supply my own clothes for Frankenstein. So that should be pretty neat. So both these control boxes will turn on at the same time, and then we'll turn the volume down on the Santa. So for instance, let me reach back here. I should have done that in the first place when that was playing. But if I gotta find the volume control here. So, where is it? Oh, it's way down the bottom. And I turn this volume down completely here, and then this control box will be hidden in this base here. And so what I did for a base for this project, for the Frankenstein bust project, is I have the Jack of Spades prop. He's set up over here, so you can see him standing there. So I have that. Well, I was never going to use the sit down. This is the little bracket that they give you extra. So if you want him to sit in a chair, then he actually gets put on this stand right here. And then you just use you discard the other two pieces for the legs to use later. But this is the one that came with that one to be able to sit him in a chair. So he would do both ways, stand up or sit down. So I have him standing up. So I need to make it a little wider to fit the Singing Santa upper torso motor assembly, this right here. So then I just cut right in the center, I cut the pipe in half, and I took a couple of boards here and bought these little rubber coated brackets at the Home Depot, and then separated these to the distance I wanted here. And then these brackets hold it to this fit to the board. And that makes a nice stable, completely stable top. So Frankenstein, his top part that comes up to here will contain his arm motors that moves both his arms. And they're not going to be the actual big, long the 7-foot prop arms. They're going to be shorter arms on Frankenstein. So proportional, it'll look good. And then of course I'll put clothing on there. But the electronics between the two, this will be turned down, but these two boxes are going to get powered from the same power supply. So you can get by with taking the infrared signal, the signal pin, hooking this pin to Frankenstein's control box, to the center pin, and what's doing that, then you got a common connection coming back to your power supply. So when Frankenstein gets activated by the IR sensor, his IR sensor, it sends a high signal to that center pin. This box will get a high signal on the center pin and activate. So then the programming will take over in the Singing Santa box to run this torso motor for Frankenstein. So now you seem to follow what I want to do here. So Frankenstein basically won't have anything, below the metal waist part. I just want like a small bust. I've only got so much room down here, but Frankenstein I had to have. I mean, for crying out loud, I love Frankenstein. The Universal Frankenstein is awesome. I watched all the horror movies, the Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, and all those are great. Fantastic movies from that time period. But I have no way to power this through Frankenstein. He doesn't have any kind of method. He does have a motor output, but that motor is continuous, and it just runs in a continuous loop, and it moves the head back and forth. Actually, it moves his arms up and down. And no, that's not right either. No, it is. That's correct. That's correct. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Yes, the one motor that Frankenstein has right here. This motor right here. This is the one that runs Frankenstein's two big arms up and down. They run at different levels. There's two different pieces of linkage, and they're different lengths. So one arm goes down, one arm comes up, kind of like this motion here. This is what he does. And like I say, those two arms are long, but this, I can buy the upper part of Frankenstein and use a pair of shorter arms on that with hands on there. If I had to, then I can paint the hands to match the Frankenstein color. I think it'll be neat because it's going to sit right here, and then it'll be, I don't know, probably I'd say another 2.5 feet taller than what this is. And then it will rotate back and forth. So I just put the snowman on there so you can see it, how far it's going to rotate to the left, comes back to the center, comes back to right. And the programming for that is in the Singing Santa box. So when I link those two together, you see where I'm going with it. So that's how it's going to work. So I've got a couple of the Singing Santa boxes. So this one is going to stay with this one right here. This is the one I showed in this same video. So it kind of gives you a little rough entry of what I'm going to do, or what I want to do with it. So that's part of the experimentation with the jigs, because you're able to get out and do this and be open, totally open. So you can hook up things you want to hook up, test things you want to test without having all the big prop in the way. And then after that, you can move it to the prop, and if you want to make a full size, because actually I could take this guy right here, and First Mate, I can convert him to lots of different things because of the head mount, the control box. These are all the same size on the bigger props. They're all the same size, and so then I could if I wanted to make him into a Jack Frost, I put Jack Frost control box in. We can utilize the motors and then mount the different head on here, and you can go out and get any kind of clothes that normal size clothes that will fit these, and dress them however you like. Change the arm out, put a different arm, change out the chest, but just use this basic model as the framework for the new prop. And then with all my electronics modifications, this doesn't just apply to Frankenstein and the Singing Santa. Most of my theories of doing all these experiments can be carried to other props or other electronic pieces. You could take this little guy right here, and it runs continuously, but it has if anything has a demo mode in it, you could fire it externally. I could have it fire my THD 3000 and have it turn this on, or this could fire up that prop once this gets turned on. So once you learn how to tap into all that, and I actually will do some electrical demonstrations of that, how I hooked these two control boxes together. So the other day I had the skeleton Santa, I had him hooked up to THD 3000. So when his infrared sensor activated here on the IR signal line, then I came over on the skeleton Santa signal line, hooked them both together. These two share the same power supply. This power supply right here. So they're both getting a common circuit through that negative line. And that's how they communicate. Now, if you were using separate power supplies, yeah, you'd have to tie the grounds together. On the IR line, you'd have to tie the two grounds together here. And to find all this signaling, all you need is a digital multimeter. And that's all that's all I used to find which one was common, which one was positive, because you have to supply power to that. And then one of these lines go high, and usually on all the SVI props, that center wire is the signal line. And then you just have to identify, well, which one's positive, which one's negative. So I haven't smoked a box yet or goofed up anything. Everything's always worked. If you didn't notice, I put a little Santa hat on THD 3000, and I took those plastic tubes on this head off. This is the one that came broke, and then we're going to do another video on how I fixed this problem with those broken screw studs. I'll do a total video on that because I want to do a green laser in his eye here, and I want to backlight this here with a nice purple high brightness LED, and then we'll have a green laser over here. So that'll be coming up on a video too. So anyway, thank you guys, appreciate it for watching all my videos, and appreciate all my subscribers, and we will talk to you all guys later.